Ladies and gentlemen, I promised that I would keep up with the Steam deals over the weekend, and I will do just that, because I wouldn't let you guys down unless I can not possibly avoid it. Or if I'm feeling particularly mean one day. So, Steam deals, ladies and gentlemen, for this particular day, and what a great day it happens to be. Start off with Magicka, 66% off. This also includes the complete pack as well as the 4-pack. That means you can get a Magicka 4-pack unbelievably cheap. If you haven't tried this game out, you just need to go and watch the videos that we played. Oh yes, the ones that we played with the Yogscast. They are absolutely hilarious. At least I hope you believe that. They've also added PvP to it, an official PvP system, which is very cool. You can also get the complete pack, which comes in with a massive amount of DLC, including all the extra items, as well as a bunch of levels. Magicka Vietnam, which is absolutely awesome, as well as the new space one, which is Final Frontier, which has a new challenge map and a new PvP map. Well worth it. That would probably be my pick of the day, honestly. Absolutely fantastic set of games. Just be aware that if you have a laptop with an integrated graphics card, this game will not work on your system, so do not purchase it for that. Fable 3, 50% off. Well, that was quick. Fable 3 is not especially good, I am afraid. It is, as with quite a lot of the Fable games, kind of disappointing. The PC port is fairly good, but my concern with it is the fact that the game just isn't particularly long, and the king mechanics towards the end are absolutely broken. And needless to say, we had Peter Molyneux turn around and say, oh, well, this game sucked and Fable 4 will be much better. Well, you know what? I'm actually through with believing him. Fable 2 was okay, but very short. Fable 3, completely lacking in promise, and personally, I wouldn't pick it up for that price. You can certainly pick it up an awful lot cheaper on console right now if you happen to have one of those. Plants vs. Zombies, 66% off. Definitely worthwhile. It was a cheap game to begin with. Now it costs less than the price of a decent burger. I would highly recommend it. It is very, very compelling. It is a tower defense game with a PopCap twist. It is very funny. It's got a good sense of humor and a lot of lastability in different modes and secrets to find. If you ain't played Plants vs. Zombies, that will be a good way to suck up vast amounts of that free time that you definitely didn't need anyway. Super Meat Boy, 50% off. If you want to know what Super Meat Boy is all about, go and watch my Super Meat Boy Wipe-A-Thon 3000, The Screams of Pain. It is a very hard but extremely enjoyable platformer. If you're in for a little bit of masochism, then you can't go wrong with this game. Very, very good indeed. Although I would recommend that you play it with a pad, not with a keyboard. It's just a little bit more precise that way. Football Manager 2011, 50% off. Well, it's a Football Manager game, which usually means if you're into these kind of things, one, you probably already know about it, and two, it will suck up vast amounts of your life. It's a good game, it really, really is if you're into that kind of stuff. Personally, I couldn't care less, but hey, there you go. If you like football or soccer in the US, then Football Manager 2011 is a really, really good choice. I used to sell tons of copies of this game when I used to work in games retail. It was very, very popular, and we always had some very positive responses to it. Darksiders, 75% off. This is basically Dark Zelda. It's a very good game with a good solid PC port as well. It runs incredibly well on a multitude of different systems. I enjoyed this game hugely. It's got a good combat system. It is pretty much Zelda as opposed to God of War, I have to say. It's got great voice acting. It's got a really fantastic aesthetic and a whole bunch of different content to explore. If you have a gamepad, once again, I would recommend it. Some people say it's okay with mouse and keyboard. Personally, I can't really play a game like this without a 360 pad, but it is absolutely stellar. Really, really good indeed. Horde, 70% off. Not all that great, I have to say. I did play a little bit of it. I didn't find it all that interesting. I don't believe it's got an awful lot of potential in terms of its lastability. If you want a lot of time with it, you've really got to have a bunch of friends that already own this game. Otherwise, the game is a bit basic. It's lacking in polish and content. However, it is very, very cheap. So if you like the idea of flying around as a dragon, trying to hoard treasure and things like that in a multiplayer environment, then you can certainly do a lot worse than this. Resident Evil 5, 50% off. It's good if you're playing co-op. If you are not playing co-op, you will probably hate this game because the AI partner is infuriating and has a tendency of eating all of your good stuff. If you want to play it co-op, it's really good, although what I will say is that it's got a very narrow field of view to the point where it actually made me feel motion sick. Apparently this was a deliberate design choice, but it is not designed well for PCs in regards to its FOV, although it does run very well because it's on the new MT framework, and everything that's on the new MT framework is developed on PC, so it tends to run really well and is particularly well optimized. Otherwise, if you can deal with that, or if you're sort of playing it from your television, then you will probably have a good time with it. Not one of the better Resident Evil games. I personally prefer 4 and Code Veronica, but certainly not a bad one. Bioshock 2 and the original Bioshock, 75% off each. If you've not played the original Bioshock, then what are you doing? You should go and play it. Bioshock 2 I did find to be fairly enjoyable. The multiplayer is completely throwaway and you should ignore it. But for that price, I think you're going to get a good amount of value out of it. It does have some fairly severe mechanical problems, but like Bioshock, it is great to experience the atmosphere of the game, and it does soak you up in a whole bunch of lore, some very interesting and twisted characters, and a now improved combat system whereby you can use both a weapon and a plasmid power at the same time, which is something that was very, very limited about the first game. So regardless, it is a lot of fun, and for that price, it's definitely worth experiencing. Half-Life 2, the franchise sale. Yes, indeed. That's Episode 1, Episode 2. All of the Half-Lives, in fact, are 75% off. Why do you not own these games already? I really don't know. If you don't, then what are you thinking? For God's sake, get Half-Life and Half-Life 2 and go and play Episode 1 and 2 after that. I wouldn't bother picking up Half-Life Deathmatch and Team Fortress Classic. You're not going to find anyone actually playing them. Blue Shift and Opposing Force, well, Opposing Force is really good, Blue Shift not so great. But seriously, who the hell hasn't played Half-Life? I really don't think I've got to talk about that too much. Okay, what else is there? Alien vs. Predator, 75% off. This is not the original version, this is the 2010 version. I have to say I personally enjoyed this game quite a bit. Admittedly, it's not very long. There's probably about 6 hours of content in here. If you bought it for full price, you'd probably feel pretty ripped off, considering the multiplayer was a joke at the start. They finally added dedicated servers, but it was too little too late and the game did die. However, the single player is very atmospheric. It is graphically extremely impressive and works very well on modern systems. And honestly, I preferred this to Alien vs. Predator 2, which I actually despised. I thought they completely threw out the horror element and the genuine suspense and the feeling of being completely trapped with hordes of marauding enemies completely out of the window. It was too light, it was too easy, it turned into a traditional FPS, whereas AVP 2010 I enjoyed quite a bit. I think you will probably get good enjoyment out of it for the 6 hours that you play it. It is a very authentic Alien vs. Predator game. It is a little bit linear, but there are, particularly in the Predator sections, a lot of very wide open spaces where you can do all sorts of cool stuff. So it is a solid game. As far as I'm concerned, it just wasn't worth the price on release. Certainly for 75% off now, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. Battlefield Bad Company 2, 75% off. This also includes Battlefield Bad Company Vietnam. You can buy the whole lot at 71% off with the pack. That also comes with the Spec Act kit upgrade, which is just a bunch of skins. It's not really worth that much. But Bad Company 2 is an incredibly solid game. Vietnam, also a very solid expansion pack for that. And still a very active community behind this game. I would highly recommend it if you haven't tried it already. It's a fairly well-balanced game. I think Carl Gustav did get nerfed, so that's pretty good. Did the M60 get nerfed? I can't really recall. But whatever the case, it is a great experience. It looks great and plays great on PC as well. And consider yourself lucky you were not there at the launch, because it was full of problems, as a lot of DICE programs tend to be. However, the server browser works pretty well now. There's a very active community. It is lacking modding, which is kind of unfortunate, but at least it has dedicated servers, so it runs pretty well. For that price, you can't really argue with it, and it's an enjoyable experience. It also has a campaign that's about 10 hours. It's not all that fun, but it's not bad. I mean, you can still blow up buildings, which is fairly enjoyable, and the gunplay is very solid. Right, I believe that covers everything for today, folks. Thanks a lot for that, and make sure that you keep an eye on this channel for details of all of the sales coming in the next few days. Lots and lots of sales coming in as the summer camp sale continues, which is going all the way through to July the 10th. So assuming you've got any money left by then, well, honestly, I would applaud you for that. Personally, I haven't bought anything yet, and then I realized I owned far too many Steam games. My name is TotalBiscuit. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.